Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Movies from A to Z. And for the letter B, I would like to talk to you about one of my favorite horror films, Mario Bava's Black Sabbath from the year 1963. And what I have here is the original Italian edition, dubbed into English. And this was put out by Image Entertainment several years ago. They put out the Mario Bava collection. I bought a couple of them. Very good prints, nice snapper cases for those of you who like snapper cases. I also have another edition of the Italian version from Anchor Bay, the Mario Bava box set, which came out several years ago. Another good print. And I have the American International version released in this country, the United States, the same year, okay, which is a little bit different than the Italian version. Now, the Italian title of the film originally, let's see if I can butcher this for you, I Tre Volti della Para, which means the three faces of fear. So we have three separate, unconnected stories, all of which are incredibly well done by Mario Bava. They're all very different. One is a contemporary story called The Telephone, starring a beautiful actress named Michelle Mercier, who plays a woman who is not, I think she's supposed to be a prostitute or a mistress of a wealthy man or something. It's not quite clear, but she's living in this gorgeous, very strange apartment, and she comes home and immediately the phone is ringing and someone is calling her and hanging up. That happens a couple of times. Then a man's voice is threatening her, and it gets very intense and ends up in a horrifying act of violence at the end. Another story is called The Drop of Water, and this is set probably back maybe in the 1800s or something like that. A woman is in her apartment and she receives a telephone call to go over to the home of this older woman who was sort of a medium, someone I guess she's been taken care of. I think the first woman is supposed to be a nurse, and she's supposed to help prepare this woman for burial because she has just died. Okay, so that gets very creepy. And the last story is called The Vertilac. It's the longest story, and it's a gothic vampire mystery. Uh, a Vertilac is defined as, I guess, in Eastern European or Russian lore, it's defined as a vampire who only drinks the blood of someone that he or she loves the most, meaning family members, husbands, children, that sort of thing. So, very creepy element. Now, Boris Karloff stars in this film. He is the host of the movie, so he comes out in both the American and the Italian versions. He comes out at the beginning of the film to introduce the entire project. Now, he also stars in The Vertilac, and he gives probably one of the most terrifying horror film performances that he ever gave. I mean, really a great performance as this vampire. You think at this stage in his life, Boris Karloff could just kind of show up and everybody would love him just for being Boris Karloff, but he puts 100% of his energy and his talent into this portrayal, and it's unforgettable. Um, Mark Damon also stars in the Vertilac, and let's see, I don't really know any of the other actresses or actors that appear in this entire. Some of the names probably wouldn't mean much to you either, but now it's interesting that the American International made some changes, and let's see. For one thing, they changed the order of the way they were shown. In the Italian version, it begins with the telephone, then we have the Vertilac, and then it ends with the drop of water. In the American version, it begins with the drop of water, the telephone is in the middle, and it ends with the Vertilac. So who knows why they did that? I think they probably wanted to emphasize the appearance of Boris Karloff. Now, one of the advantages of the American version is you get to hear Boris Karloff's distinctive voice, which is always a big plus for horror fans. In the Italian version, he is dubbed. I don't know if, of course, they dubbed almost everybody's voices anyway, but he probably didn't speak any Italian. I have no idea. Um, all of the movies are good. I don't think there were that many changes made to The Drop of Water and to The Vertilac for the American version. They did change the music. The original musical score was by Roberto Nicolosi, and he also did the musical score for Black Sunday. And he uses some of the music from Black Sunday in Black Sabbath. And let's see, in the American version, they use a music by Les Baxter, which I think is also very good. A lot of people hate the music of Les Baxter that was used for a lot of American international films. I actually think he was a very talented guy, so no complaints there. Um, the only big changes that were made, well, let's see, they made changes to the way Boris Karloff came out at the beginning of both versions to introduce everything. In the Italian version, he does not come back to introduce all the episodes, but he does come back at the end. It does this little sort of a comedy bit riding on a mechanical horse to sort of lessen the impact of the horror that you've just experienced in the movie in all three of the stories. In the American International version, of course, it comes out at the beginning, but he comes back also to introduce all three segments, but then he doesn't come back at the end of the film. So, but the biggest changes were made to the story of the telephone. The I don't want to give too much away because there might be a lot of you out here who still have not seen Black Sabbath, so I don't want to spoil it for you. But in the original, the Three Faces of Fear, um, there is no supernatural element. Everything is explained in very weird, intense psychological relationships. Okay, between two women and between a man, um, and with a man. But in the American version, they decided to eliminate some of the weirdness of the relationships, or what they considered to be weird at the time, and they introduced a supernatural element, which was not in the original story. So having a supernatural element is not really a bad thing. Now, I would say both versions of the telephone are effective and well worth seeing, but I guess a lot of people, being purists, would want to go with what the original concept in the Italian version. Okay, so again, Boris Karloff is terrific. Mark Damon, who co-stars in The Vertilac, had also been in Roger Corman's House of Usher. He had done a lot of films before this, and by the time Black Sabbath was being made, he was living and working in Italy, where he would have a really prolific career, and then eventually go into being a film producer, which he is still doing to this day. The man is in his 80s, and if you look on his Internet Movie Database, you will see he is still working on several projects. So good for him. Mark Damon's still very vital, still putting out product. So anyway, I think this is one of the, I'll go out on a limb here and say it's one of the best horror films ever made. Certainly one of the best films to come out of that incredible early 60s period where you had great films coming out of Italy, not only from Mario Bava, but also from Riccardo Freda, Antonio Margheriti. It was also the great prolific period of the Hammer films coming out of England, and then also in America with all of the Edgar Allan Poe films directed by Roger Corman. This is a great example of that period and highly recommended. Whether you watch the original version or the American version, I would advise you to watch both. All right. But that's just me. What do I know? I got a lot of my information about Mario Bava and his films from this incredible book by Troy Haworth, The Haunted World of Mario Bava, right? Also highly recommended. Okay? Well, all right, that's all I want to say. Let me know what you think about Black Sabbath. Maybe you haven't seen it yet. Comments are always welcome. Take care, folks.